your belief is counted unto you as righteousness. It will make the difference between where you fell short and what I call you to be. The last mile of the way is filled in simply by faith. That's a really good deal. This is who I am. I am defined by my vision, my purpose, and my goals. That's my playbook. That's my creed. That's what I believe. You see the reason that's important. If you know who you are, then you know who you are not. If you don't know who you are, somebody can ascribe any identity onto you and you will morph into whatever they want you to be. And that's what has happened with a whole lot of us. Some of us have been 10 or 12 different people depending upon who we were with, because we don't know who we are. We become whoever they want us to be. And then when they leave us, we are confused because we have no real understanding of who we are.
Whatever we have right now, whatever we're demonstrating in our lives, is a result of what we believe subconsciously that we deserve. And part of increasing that belief level is that you have got to convince yourself every day. Let me share something with you. You can learn all the techniques in the world. If you don't believe in yourself, it won't happen for you.
All of the power that you have and all of the strength that you have and all the ideas that you have are born in your uniqueness. And what makes you unique, and this may sound really simple, it's just really true. What makes you unique is what makes you special. And if you don't, if you spend your whole life trying to conform, trying to be what somebody else thinks you should be, or fit into a mold or fit into a system, and you dull down your specialness, then you're dulling down all of your ability to change the world. So I think that it's very, very important that people have an opportunity to be the best of themselves that they can be.
Wouldn't it be amazing if you believe that? Wouldn't you sleep good tonight if you believe that? Wouldn't you walk around with your head up and your back straight if you believe that? Say it again, I can do all things. You wouldn't be intimidated by anybody, anywhere, at any time if you just believe that. Say it again, I can do all things. Can you imagine how different your job interview would go if you really believed that and walked in, they said, what do you do? I can do. Imagine if you were taught that from the time you were born into the world. The first thing your mama told you when they spanked you on the behind is, don't worry about it, baby. You can do all things. We quote it, but we don't believe it.
I believe in me. If you stop believing in me, I'm not going to believe in myself any less. If you believe that I'm irrelevant, that no one is checking for me, and that I don't mean anything to the world, because you think or believe that about me, it doesn't mean that I'm going to believe it about myself. See, the day that you start living your life according to everybody else's opinion is the beginning of the end. Most of y'all, I see it every day, all day. Most of you guys don't actually know your self-worth. You don't know your self-value. So you're like a vulnerable little child and you're shaking. And it's like, everybody loves me this week, so I love me this week. Next week, it drops. So now you're running around insecure, feeling self-conscious, and not loving yourself, sad and depressed, based on the feedback, the responses, and the energy that the rest of the world is giving you.
Okay, so imagine that something glimmers before you. It's an interest that's dawning, and you decide, well, first of all, you're paralyzed. You think, well, how do I know if I should pursue that? It's probably a stupid idea. And the proper response to that is, you're right, it probably is a stupid idea, because almost all ideas are stupid. And so the probability that as you move forward on your adventure that you're going to get it right the first time is zero. It's just not going to happen. And so then you might think, well, maybe I'll just wait around until I get the right idea. and which people do, right? So they're like 40-year-old, 13-year-olds, which is not a good idea. So they wait around until it's waiting for Godot, until they finally got it right. But the problem is you're too stupid to know when you've got it right. So waiting around isn't going to help, because even if the perfect opportunity manifested itself to you in your incomplete form, the probability that you would recognize it as the perfect opportunity is 0. You might even think it's the worst possible idea that you've ever heard of anywhere. Highly likely. Highly likely. And so you can take these tentative steps on your pathway to destiny, and you can assume that you're going to do it badly. And that's really useful, because you don't have to beat yourself up. It's pretty easy to do it badly. But the thing is, it's way better to do it badly than not to do it at all.
You'll be surprised of the ideas that will come to you, of the people that you'll be able to attract, of the opportunities that you'll be able to see. You'll begin to see things that have been standing there looking you in the face, saying, I can't believe this has been here all this time. Here's a habit that I do. Maybe it might be of some value to you. I get up in the morning and I start writing what great ideas that I can think of today that can improve me and that will enable me to reach my goal. And I just let my mind flow. Sometimes I write 15, 20 ideas. Some days it's more difficult than others. One idea can change your life. See, anybody who's ever done anything, who's ever taken a chance, doesn't mean that they're not afraid. Courageous does not mean being the absence of fear. I think that being courageous is willing to do it because that's what you feel, and you're going to do it anyhow, regardless. So you're not going to be immobilized by your fears or your doubts. You admit, okay, I'm scared to death. Now, okay, what is it that I must choose to do? Go ahead and experience that fear, but don't let that fear immobilize you.
I'm telling y'all right now, the day that you allow the opinions of everybody on the outside world to define your day-to-day, month-to-month, and year-to-year, it's the beginning of the end. Love yourself, believe in yourself, independent of the validation of the world. Have opinions and feelings about yourself, independent of the feedback.
Those of you who are dealing with things, walking through situations in this life, those dreamers in here who are trying to build a dream, everything seems to be going fine, and all of a sudden you hear something. There's a rumbling. Something is happening that is trying to distract you. You got anxiety. You can't sleep. You're tossing and turning all night long, wondering what is going on. God, what is going on in this moment? What is going on? What is happening right now? I've been there. It's a very difficult place when you know that you've got anxiety all over you.
Everybody has dreams, and as much as you want to be able to listen a little bit, because somebody's going to give you a gem, but nobody knows but you. You can't get advice on what you should do with your life, right? Nobody knows what you are. Like even sometimes you don't really even know what you are. You got to take your shot. And it's like, as much as you want people to agree and you want the people around you to be supporting your dreams and all, it's not going to be like that all the time. You got to do it alone. And people will help you, and when you get the ball rolling, people will jump on. But if you don't believe, nobody else is going to believe.
You have to go from being a person of good intentions to a person of good actions. That's the great separator. To develop yourself, you've got to get out of the intending world and get into the doing world. In fact, your good intentions are good intentions, but they're worthless. Totally worthless. The most overrated phrase in the world is good intentions. I know all kinds of people, they have good intentions, but they never do good, because they didn't act upon what they knew. So if you want to develop yourself and you want to get better, just act on what you've already expressed that you want to do. The moment you quit talking about it and start doing it, now you've got something. I had a friend named Randy one time who came to me and said, John, your talk talks and your walk talks, but your walk talks a lot louder than your talk talks. That's true. Become a person of action today.
Key phrase, faith is the ability to see things that don't yet exist. And that's how things exist. How did this hotel get here? Someone saw it while the property was vacant. You say, well, is it possible to see this hotel when it isn't here? And the answer is yes, of course. If somebody cannot see it when it is not here, then it will never be here. So it's possible to see things that don't yet exist. When should you start building this hotel? This is a good question for your philosophical musings. When should we start building the house? When should we start? And here's the answer. As soon as it's finished. You wouldn't start building the house until you had it finished. If you just started laying bricks and somebody came around and said, what are you doing? I said, I'm just laying bricks. And said, what are you building? And you said, I have no idea. See, they'll take you away to a safe place. So have you got that now? It's possible to finish something before you start. In fact, it would be a bit foolish to start until you had it finished. We've heard the old expression, don't count your chickens until they're hatched. No, we have the ability to count our chickens long before they're hatched. Because we know, we have faith, we believe. We use the law of averages. There's bound to be at least so many. So it's possible to see the end, then begin. Start looking into the future of what you would like to accomplish, and where you would like to go, the person you would like to be, and see if you can't get a better picture of the finished objective. See yourself there. See yourself in possession of. Decide what you want and act as if it was already yours. Now, the reason we can act thinking that it's already ours is because not only can we vision the end results, we can also vision the beginning of making it real. So we don't start till it's finished, but it is possible for human beings to finish something before they start. Make these notes. When you've accomplished some goals, you need some more to accomplish. Next, it's very important when you reach a goal that's significant or important to you to celebrate. So just jot that down. Celebrate a significant accomplishment. Or it doesn't have to be that significant. If it's important to you, it doesn't have to be world-changing or life-changing. If it's just a goal that's really important to you, you finally reached it. Celebrate. Now, hopefully on your list of goals, you had some family goals. And if the family together finally reaches a goal, jot this down. Celebrate with the family. And if you're checking it off, let each member of the family put their check mark on this goal, because the whole family worked on this one. Now, here's what this will do. It will help each member of your family to make a longer list of goals. Wow, if we can accomplish this, think of what else we could do. The same is true of you individually. When you accomplish something, check it off, celebrate. It'll help you to grab your list, wherever it is, and say, hey, if I can get here, I can double that original list. So celebration creates excitement to develop a longer list. You also need goals ongoing. When the early astronauts went to the moon, some of them, when they came back from the moon, had psychological problems. Some of them drank too much, got into other difficulties. And one of the reasons is, where do you go now that you've been to the moon? So here's what they did later. They made sure that the astronauts later, who came back from the moon, had plenty of projects to keep them busy after they had been to the moon. And the same is true of you and me. Goals, after you've reached them, another list. After you've reached those, another list. My father lived to be 93. You can't imagine the goals he had. One of his goals when he was 92 was to get his driver's license renewed. Guess what he got it renewed for? 4 years. At age 92, he got his driver's license renewed for 4 years. Now, he didn't live long enough to, if he'd have thought about it more, I think he would have lived 2 or 3 more years just to make sure he filled all that out. So he only lived to be 93, but at 92, got my driver's license renewed for 4 years. You can't imagine. He used to show his driver's license to everybody. Unbelievable. So, goals to replace goals that you've achieved, on and on. The rest of your life. How far should you go? As far as you can. How many books should you read? As many as you can. How many friends should you make? As many as you can. How much should you earn? As much as you can. That's it. What should you try to be? All you possibly can. The purpose of this exercise is just to stretch you, get you to think, get you to wonder, get you to ponder. I wonder what might be possible. If I could get everything I wanted, what would that be? Now here's the next exercise. Okay, jot down the question. On your list of one-year goals, which are the 4 most important? Of your one-year goals, which are the 4 most important? So now I want you to go back over your one-year goals and pick out the 4 most important. Now, if you've only got 4 now, this is an easy exercise. But you might add some more to your one-year list if you haven't got enough. And then pick out the 4 most important. This is what turned me on at age 25. Goals for accomplishment and personal progress. Once the fires were lit for me, I'm telling you, they have never gone out. Since I was 25 years old, no one has ever said to me, when are you gonna get going? When are you gonna get off the couch? When are you gonna get off the dime? I've never heard that since I was 25 and got all this taken care of. Wow. Here's what I've heard since I was 25. When are you gonna slow down? You can't visit that many countries, you're gonna have a heart attack and die. I can't say it strong enough. It's easy to get lazy in designing the day and designing the year and designing the future and designing what you want to accomplish and just cross your fingers and hope it'll all work out, that the favorable winds will blow it all your way. I'm telling you, it's not gonna happen. Keep this up. And one of the best ways to keep it up, teach it. The key is to teach it. You don't need recognition. Just go give everybody you can think of that deserves it recognition. And your own self-satisfaction is recognition enough. If they never put a crown on your head, who cares? And the question is why? Why are those 4 goals important to you? Because the why is very important. And I'm going to give you some notes on that a little bit later. So just start a little paragraph. Why those 4 goals are important to you. Here's the first one. When the why gets stronger, the how gets easier. When the why gets big, powerful, strong, how seems to be so much easier. Without a strong enough why, the how seems to be too difficult almost to accomplish. Say, how do you manage your time? Hey, if you had strong and powerful enough goals, you'd figure out how to manage your time. You'd get a book on the subject. You know, you'd do something to manage your time if it was worth it. If it's not worth it, you know, why would you bother studying the art of managing your time if it really doesn't matter? But if it really mattered in the accomplishment of your goals and why you wish to accomplish them, see, you can do anything. You can get up any hour, read any book, take any class, make any change, develop any skill, do any discipline. I mean, you can do it all when the why starts to grow. The how gets simple. Excellent question to ask children. Why? What for? Little note. Maybe one of your goals was to have $1 million home on the hill overlooking Snake River Valley. Okay. That'd be a good goal. $1 million home. Here's the next question. What for? What for? I mean, a house is a house is a house with bricks and wood and walls and roof. The key, yes, $1 million home, that'd be wonderful, but what for? So now jot this down. Purpose is stronger than object. The object would be the house, and that'll pull. That's a worthy goal to go for, the object of the house. But here's a stronger goal, the purpose for the $1 million home. You say, well, it'll be the centerpiece of all the family's activity with all kinds of unique people coming and going and the influence and things will be happening in this place. See, now we're getting somewhere. So if you got that line, it's one of my best for the whole day. Purpose is stronger than object. It's okay to have plenty of objects to go for on your goal list. But always keep asking yourself the question, and sometimes it's good to just write it out. Here's why I want this money. Here's why I want this place. Here's why. And you start developing those reasons. And I'm telling you now, this starts to become incredibly powerful. Okay, now here's some more notes. Some of your goals should be personal development. The person you wish to become. Develop skills that make you attractive to the marketplace. Develop the temperament and the attitude that makes you attractive to the business world. The attitude and the temperament that makes you a splendid father, studying the art. Because here's what's important. It's not what you get that makes you valuable. It's what you become that makes you valuable. I keep saying this year after year. It's the person you become. I admired my friend Mark Hughes for the fortune he made and the company he built. Guess what I admired more? The person he became in a short 44 years. He was unique. He bought the idea at age 19 of personal development and worked on it daily from that day until the time he died. The idea of becoming an attractive person, a skillful person, a good friend, a good colleague, a good partner, a good member of the round table, a contributor. See, that's the key, the person you become.
It should take you years to get out of debt, years to accomplish your dream. In the natural, that's true. But when you come into one of these destiny moments, it's going to happen in a fraction of the time. Every thought may tell you it's permanent. It's never going to change. No, God is saying to you today, I'm going to do it quickly. It's going to happen suddenly. Now get in agreement with God. Instead of thinking of all the reasons it's not going to work out, turn it around. Father, thank you for a quick work. Thank you for a sudden turnaround. When God brought the Israelites out of slavery, they headed toward the promised land. The Pharaoh, who had just let them go, changed his mind and decided he wanted them back. So he sent 600 of his fastest chariots, some of his strongest warriors, to try to recapture them. And the Israelites, these 2 million people, were at a dead end at the Red Sea. They had nowhere to go. It looked like they would be recaptured, but Moses held up his rod and those waters parted. The Israelites walked through on dry ground. When Pharaoh's men came chasing, the waters closed up. They were all drowned. Psalm 114 gives us insight into what happened. Verse 3 says, the Red Sea saw the Israelites coming and hurried out of their way. When you come into your time, don't worry, enemies are going to hurry out of your way. That addiction, the depression, the anxiety, it's not permanent. It's about to hurry out of your way. It's going to happen quickly. You didn't see any sign of things changing. Nothing looked any different. Then suddenly the waters part. Suddenly your health turns around. Suddenly the door opened. God knows how to take things that look permanent and quickly change them.
Stress is God's way of training you. It's preparation. But what most people do is, see, once you get stressed, you don't want that no more. So now you give up, you through. Nobody likes stress because some people just let themselves go. But you got to, in order to develop and to change and to grow, stress is necessary. So you got to be willing to go get it every day. There's a story my father told me all the time. Now I've heard it several different ways. He said, son, he said, every morning on the plains of the eastern Serengeti Desert, there arises a gazelle that realizes that he must run faster than the fastest lion, or he will be eaten and he will die that day. On that same desert arises in the morning a lion that realizes that he must run faster than the fastest gazelle, or he will starve and he will die that day. He say, son, the moral of the story is, no matter who you is, when you wake up in the morning, you needs to be running.
Greatness. It's just something we made up. Somehow we've come to believe that greatness is a gift, reserved for a chosen few, for prodigies, for superstars. And the rest of us can only stand by watching. You can forget that. Greatness is not some rare DNA strand. It's not some precious thing. Greatness is no more unique to us than breathing. We're all capable of it. All of us.
I always believe leaving no stone unturned. That's what makes you a champion.
Sometimes the first year you say, well, you know, I'm so healthy now, what difference is it going to make? You got to be smarter than that. Just because disaster doesn't fall on us at the end of the first day doesn't mean disaster isn't coming. You got to be so smart that you look down the road and say, will the errors in my present judgment of philosophy, what's that going to cost me in 1 year, 6 years, 1 month, 6 months? I'm telling you, the money cost and the health cost and the success cost is too gigantic if you'll look down the road a little ways and say, are there errors in my current judgment like an apple versus a Hershey bar? Is that just a good illustration of some of the rest of my errors in judgment? If it is, that's where I found myself at age 25. I started working when I was 19. I met my teacher who helped turn my life around when I was 25. That's 6 years. At the end of the first 6 years of my economic life, I've got pennies in my pocket. I've got nothing in the bank. The creditors are calling saying, hey, you told us the check was in the mail. I'm embarrassed. I'm behind on my promises. I live in America. I'm 25-year-old American male. I got a nice family, every reason to do well. And I'm messed up. Now, what's messed up? I used to think it was the community that was messed up. The country was messed up. The government was messed up. Those Democrats ever get in the White House, that'll really mess things up. The Republicans stay in power, that'll really mess things up. The economy was messed up. Interest rates are messed up. I thought all this stuff was messed up. Then I found out that's not what was messed up. I was criticizing the only thing I had to work with. What was really messed up was my own personal philosophy. My own errors in judgment in my own personal philosophy brought me in 6 years to pennies in my pocket, nothing in the bank, and trying to explain why I wasn't doing well living in America, 25-year-old American male, got a family, every reason to be with. Now, once I understood this, here's the formula for failure: errors in judgment, being lax about developing your own personal philosophy. I'm telling you, it's called accumulated. Doesn't matter whether it's your health or your bank account. Guy's got an empty bank account, probably has high cholesterol. Why? Over the last 6 years, he never paid attention to either one. And it doesn't matter whether it's a dollar, or whether it's your money, or whether it's your cholesterol count. All you got to do is commit the errors, and just because disaster doesn't fall on you at the end of the first day that you don't eat an apple. Okay, well, I didn't eat an apple today, and tonight I'm not ill. Well, you got to be brighter than that. Someday you got to leave first grade.
See, I'm a seed. I really am. But a seed has to be planted. A seed got to have dirt put on top of it. If you take a seed and throw it on the concrete and walk off, the sun just burn it up. But guess what? Logically, in my mind, it doesn't make sense that to grow something, you should dig a hole, put it down in there, and cover it with dirt. Logically, that don't make no sense to me. But oh, though. See, dirt is necessary for growth and development. Dirt builds character. Dirt gives you the push-through factor. Dirt makes you come with it when you don't feel like coming with it no more. And you get dirt in a lot of different ways. All of y'all that had dirt thrown on you. And dirt ain't always what you want. It's somebody talking about you down on your job. It's somebody accusing you of something that you didn't do. It's somebody telling you you ain't gonna make it. It's somebody sharing information about you that ain't true. That everybody get dirt put on. But see, when you're getting put under that stress, please know God is always working. God is always working, so I smile. Because I know he back there. See, that dirt builds character in you. When they talking about you, it teaches you to withstand it. Then it gives you something to push through. So when you put the seed and you put the dirt on it, if you understand stress, stress really ain't just dirt. See, they don't call it dirt when they plant it. They call it soil. Because, see, soil has nutrients in it. What the nutrients, when people talking about you, dogging you, lying on you, backbiting, stealing from you, talking about you, they're actually putting nutrients in you.
You're out there partying, horsing around. Someone out there at the same time is working hard. Someone is getting smarter and someone is winning. You never want to fail because you didn't work hard enough. But if you want to win, there's absolutely no way around hard work. No pain, no gain.
We're wired differently. We have to set a goal. And if we hit that goal, we're guaranteed to make sure all that other stuff in the middle is going to happen. Why 3 o'clock in the morning? Why don't you sleep? My appetite. I say, I want more. I can do more. If I accomplish this without a father, if I accomplish this with my mom being a teenage mom, if I accomplish this as a high school dropout.
How many of you believe in your life that your worst day can become your best day if you turn it around?
Now let me give you the secret to success. Formula for failure. A few errors in judgment repeated every day for 1 month starts the weakness, starts the disaster process. You can imagine what happens. Now here's the formula for success. A few simple discipline practice every day. You've started a whole new process called a whole new life. A few simple disciplines practiced every day. And if you decide today to go for the apple instead of the Hershey bar, I'm telling you, you have begun the process of turning your life around. And if you keep up that process, not only with your health habits, but with your money habits, with your communication habits, with your sales habits, management habits, and every other habit that you've got, if you'll start that process, eliminate the errors and replace it with disciplined practice, I'm telling you, you can start this process of life change immediately. After today, you don't ever have to be the same again. Only by choice. You don't have to walk out of here the same as you walked in today. Only by choice. You can start a whole new process. You say, well, Mr. Rohn, is it that simple? Yes, it's that simple. Where else would you start but with an apple? You don't have to start with something staggering. What if you should be walking around the block for your good health and you don't? What'll that do in 6 years? I'm telling you, the word is disaster. You could, and you should, and you don't. Here's an even stronger word. You won't. I mean, don't might mean you're careless. Won't probably means you're stubborn. And either one's called disaster. Could, should, don't. I'm telling you, that's why at the end of 6 years, I found myself with pennies in my pocket, nothing in the bank, creditors calling. Could, should, won't. Could, should, don't. It's called disaster. Now, how do you change all that? The next 6 years, I got rich. The next 6 years, I became a millionaire. By the time I'm 31, I'm a millionaire. How about that? You say, well, Mr. Rohn, what happened? Well, strangely enough, during that second 6 years of my economic life, the government was about the same. I'm telling you, taxes were about the same. My negative relatives were the same. I'm telling you, the economy was about the same, and prices were about the same, and everything else was about the same. Circumstances were about the same. Then how come I got rich? How come I totally changed my life? I was not the same.
Everything you see above ground that blossoms and plants and grows and that's beautiful, it was underground one time. All them potatoes, collard greens, they was underground one time. Them apple trees, they was underground one time. So they had to prove themselves. See, you want to be successful, well then you got to prove yourself. You got to push through the dirt. You got to come up through here. You got to come out. Then you sprout, and then Bishop say, then you become a tree. Next thing you know, you got fruit. So when you under stress, take the stress for what it is. Don't get fooled. Don't just think, oh, man, Lord must not mean for it to be. What you tripping for? What you talking about? How you think you're going to be a plant, a tree, a flower, a bush, and ain't no stress? How you going to get to be that without no dirt? I expect people to talk about me. Matter of fact, I look forward to it now. Do your thing, because if I can weather what happened to me and my family earlier, you can bring whatever you got now. There's some more stuff going around now that's about to happen. Bring it. Because now I have developed a character that is stress. I have soil, enough dirt on me that is providing me with nutrients.
Do you realize that every day you thought you wasn't going to make it? Do you remember them days where you thought it was absolutely unbearable and you thought you wasn't going to endure that one? Do you know that your survival rate for every last one of them bad days is 100%?
If I can accomplish these things from this start, now that I'm at this place, knowing what I know now.
Hi, welcome back to Mind Control.
Bang on the door. I'm the oldest, they're screaming, so I go answer the door. And I answer the door, and standing there is this giant man. It was this little boy, and he's holding this huge box of food. And beside him on the ground was a black pot with an uncooked turkey in it. And he said, "Is your father home?" And I said, "Just one moment." I was like, this is a gift from God. This is gonna change it all. This is gonna make my mom and dad happy. It's gonna be unbelievable. So I go, my father is screaming at my mother through a closed door to the bedroom door. And I said, Dad, there's a guy at the door. And he goes, you answer the door. I said, I did. He's got to see you. I kind of teased. I said, Dad, you gotta come. So he said, fine. He made one last yell at her, and he walks to the door. And I'm waiting there, just can't waiting to see his face. And my dad opens the door, and this man's standing there with this big box of food. And my father did not get happy. He looked at this man, and he raised his voice to him, and he said, "Look, we don't take charity." And then he took the door to slam it in the man's face. But the man was a good-sized man. He put his foot there and smacked his foot and bounced back over. He said, sir, this is not charity. Everybody has tough times. Somebody knows you're having a tough time, and they want you to have a magical Thanksgiving. I'm just the delivery guy. He said, please take this. And my father said, we don't take charity. He went to slam it again. And this time the guy put his shoulder against it so he couldn't do it. And then my father's staring at him. It's like these two males starting to get this intense mode. And one just trying to give a gift, and I'm freaking. And then the guy said something that I'll never forget. And in moments I wished he hadn't said. But he found a way to force my father. He's holding this thing, and he looked at me, and then he looked at my dad, and he said, don't make your family suffer because of your ego. Now my dad's level of energy increased, but he was also trapped. You get it? So he took the food, slammed it on our table, and slammed the door in the man's face, and never even thanked him. And then I thought, years I figured out, our whole life is shaped by decisions. That's what we've talked about today, right? But there's 3 decisions you're making every moment you're alive. And the way you make these 3 decisions shapes your destiny. First decision we're all making every moment is, what are you going to focus on? What are you going to focus on? I realized that my father's life and my life ended up very different because we made that day 3 decisions very differently. He decided to focus on the fact that he has not fed his family. And the second question you got to decide, every moment you're alive, including this moment, what are you going to focus on? Second question is, as you're focusing on, what does this mean? What does it mean? And the bottom line on meaning is, if you think about it, you get to make up the meaning, and most people pick the worst one, don't they?
that day, my father decided to focus on the fact he hadn't fed his family, and I know what meaning he gave because he said it out loud over and over again, that he was worthless because he had not taken care of his family. And then the final, most important decision you make every moment you're alive: what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I'll tell you what he decided to do. He decided to leave our family shortly thereafter, which at the time was the worst experience of my life. It was the most crushing experience I felt. I realized in that moment that the worst day of my life, my father leaving, had actually been the best day of my life. Because if I hadn't had that experience, I wouldn't be here today. And now because of that, I'm getting to live this life. And I have the desire and the drive and the want to give it this way.
Life is going smoothly, then the bottom falls out. Everything is coming up roses, then the bottom falls out. That life starts going your way finally, then the bottom falls out.
And when we begin to understand and know that, accepting that reality, that we will never ever have things just on an even keel all the time, that you're going to have some ups and you're going to have some downs. But during those down moments, that's where the growth takes place. That's where the work is.
You worked on a job 35 years and now you're laid off. You planned for life to work a certain way and then the bottom falls out. You're looking for this and God sends that. That even though you love God does not mean that the bottom will not fall out.
You might be going through a season, since darkness is the absence of a thing. You might be going through a season of the absence of a thing that you legitimately need, but it ain't over.
You have to be awfully immature to think that every day is going to be a good day. Some days are better than other days. And some days, if it ain't one thing, it's another.
One of the things that we know about life is that it is always changing. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Sometimes things go real well, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes you're happy, and sometimes you're sad. Now that's that thing called life.
You may have to function for a while without the absence of the thing you adore. But it's not over. It's just that God has created the treasures of darkness. And in order to create the treasures of darkness, he has to take away light so that he can incubate what he's about to do in your life.
And I'm going to tell you right now, it won't be easy. It will be hard because life is hard. That's what life is. And these challenges, they're going to do their best to take you down. Do not let them. Stand up, dig in.
In the end, we are only as strong as the adversity that we overcome. The pain of the adversity will eventually subside, but the lesson will always remain. And that lesson will strengthen you to endure your next battle, this time stronger and wiser than before.
Line up those problems and confront them. Face them. Do not let them bring you down. In fact, let those challenges raise you up. Let them elevate you. Let their demands and their trials make you stronger. Let the adversity you face today turn you into a better person tomorrow.
The way you handle your good years will determine if you survive the bad years. In other words, you must learn to maximize the positive. If you don't learn how to maximize the good times and minimize the bad times, then you won't make it through the famine.
Victory begins in the dark. And we all go through these times where we don't think it's going to work out. Seasons where nothing is changing. We're being our best, but the business is not growing. The fact is, light is on the way. What God promised you is en route.
You've been believing for things to change in your marriage, your finances, with an addiction. It seems permanent. You've already entered a new day. You've already passed midnight. You can't see it yet, but victory is on the way.
Life and business is like the changing seasons. You cannot change the seasons. That's impossible. You can't rearrange the seasons. The seasons are going to come however they're going to come, and you cannot change that. So you cannot change the seasons. But make this note, you can change yourself. That was the message I got when I was 25 years old with someone who took the time to teach me. You can change yourself.
Now, instead of complaining about the dark, have a new perspective. The dark means the sun is on the way up. The promise is about to come forth. Who can stop the sun from rising each morning? Who can keep light from breaking forth over the horizon? All the forces of darkness cannot stop what God has ordained for you. They cannot keep what He promised from coming to pass. In the face of that darkness, when you don't see any light, get in agreement with God.
See, anybody can feel good when they have their health, their bills are paid. Anybody could be positive then. Anybody can have a larger vision then. Anybody can have faith under those kinds of circumstances. The real challenge of growth, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, comes when you get knocked down. Somebody said that adversity introduces a man to himself or a woman.
Adversity is a gift. Embrace it. Trying to avoid adversity would be like trying to avoid the tide while swimming in the ocean. But like the ocean, if you can learn to embrace the tide of adversity, you will eventually learn to let it lift you up, and you can ride the wave to shore unscathed. And in that moment, take a look around, because the view that you have after you've overcome your adversity is absolutely breathtaking.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Please also like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and families.